For decades, the United States and Canada built one of the most important energy partnerships in the world, but that relationship may be entering its biggest transition in years. As Canada gains new export routes, global buyers compete for supply, and trade tensions continue to simmer, questions are emerging about how secure North America's energy future really is. Could America's largest foreign oil supplier become less dependent on the U.S. market? And what could that mean for fuel prices, trade negotiations, and the industries that keep the continent moving? Your roadmap to the latest in auto, welcome to Highway Herald. Let's examine the key developments behind this evolving story. Number 5. America's emergency oil safety net faces fresh challenges. U.S. oil inventories remain a key focus as policymakers balance energy security with market stability. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve is still below its historical peak after significant drawdowns, while commercial crude stockpiles continue to fluctuate due to refinery demand and exports. Although experts agree the nation is not at risk of running out of oil, maintaining robust emergency reserves becomes increasingly important during periods of geopolitical uncertainty. Critical hubs like Cushing, Oklahoma, help keep benchmark crude trading and pipeline operations running smoothly, even when inventories fall. However, thinner stockpiles could make oil prices more volatile if unexpected disruptions occur, and replenishing reserves may be costly when prices are high. These developments extend far beyond the energy sector, affecting freight transportation, manufacturing, airline operations, and everyday fuel costs. Ultimately, oil inventory management plays an important role in the broader economy and the automotive industry. But domestic reserves tell only part of the story. To understand the bigger picture, we have to look north to the country that supplies most of America's imported crude. Number 4. Canada's expanding export options strengthen its position. Canada remains the largest foreign supplier of crude oil to the United States, accounting for roughly 62% of U.S. crude imports in 2024 and reinforcing decades of close energy integration. However, the expansion of the Trans Mountain Pipeline has given Canadian producers greater access to Pacific markets, allowing exports to reach more buyers across Asia and increasing market flexibility. Canada is also advancing its LNG sector, highlighted by a long-term supply agreement with Germany's CFE that supports Europe's efforts to diversify energy sources. Strong energy exports and favorable commodity prices have boosted Canada's trade performance, underscoring the importance of its resource industry. Despite these developments, the United States remains Canada's largest trading partner, with both countries relying on interconnected pipelines, refineries, and infrastructure. Canada's broader export capabilities strengthen its negotiating position while enhancing resilience in an evolving global energy market. Yet energy flows do not exist in isolation. The policies governing trade can dramatically reshape how those resources move across borders. Number 3. Trade friction continues to influence the North American market. Tariff debates and evolving trade policies continue to shape the automotive and energy sectors across North America. Legal challenges have limited the use of certain broad import duties, leading U.S. officials to pursue alternative regulatory approaches. Recent proposals tied to forced labor investigations could impact imports from multiple economies. Supporters believe these measures protect domestic industries and uphold labor standards, while critics warn they may increase costs and provoke retaliatory trade actions. Meanwhile, negotiations between the United States and Canada have made only limited progress, leaving uncertainty around future trade relations. For automakers, suppliers, and logistics companies, these policy shifts carry significant consequences because modern vehicles rely on complex international supply chains. Even relatively small tariff changes can affect sourcing decisions, manufacturing costs, production timelines, and vehicle prices. The broader lesson is clear. Trade policy and the future of the automotive industry are increasingly interconnected. And while tariffs dominate many headlines, an even less visible factor may have an even greater impact on North America's energy future. Now let's explore number 2. Canadian heavy crude remains a vital piece of America's refining puzzle. A crucial but often overlooked element of the U.S.-Canada energy partnership is refinery compatibility. Many refineries in the Midwest and Gulf Coast were specifically designed over decades to process heavy crude oil imported from Canada. Unlike lighter shale oil, heavy crude requires specialized equipment and optimized refining systems, making rapid feedstock changes difficult and potentially expensive. This long-standing relationship has influenced pipeline infrastructure, storage facilities, and cross-border energy trade throughout North America. Under the current Canada-United States-Mexico agreement, Canada also has greater legal flexibility regarding its exports than under previous trade rules. While Canadian officials continue to emphasize reliable partnerships and there is no indication of plans to restrict shipments, the evolving legal framework underscores a broader reality. Lasting energy security depends not only on production volumes, but also on refinery design, transportation infrastructure, commercial agreements, and decades of coordinated planning between neighboring economies. If you're enjoying this analysis and want more in-depth coverage of the automotive industry, energy markets, and transportation trends, consider subscribing to Highway Herald and turning on notifications. Your support helps us continue bringing you timely updates and thoughtful insights. Now, all of these factors come together in one overarching trend that may define the future of North American energy security. Number 1. Energy strategy and trade policy are becoming one story. Energy policy and trade policy are becoming increasingly intertwined, with oil markets shaped not only by production, but also by tariffs, diplomatic negotiations, export infrastructure, shipping routes, and long-term investments. Canada's expanded export capabilities illustrate this shift by giving producers greater flexibility to serve overseas markets, while the United States remains their primary customer. At the same time, U.S. leaders must balance domestic energy demands, emergency reserve levels, consumer fuel prices, and national security considerations. These decisions ripple through the economy, affecting automakers, freight operators, suppliers, and everyday drivers as transportation costs and supply chains evolve. Recent economic data shows Canada's resource exports remain strong even as trade talks continue, and global energy markets respond to geopolitical developments. The overall lesson is that stable infrastructure, resilient supply chains, and close cross-border cooperation are becoming increasingly important for ensuring long-term energy security and economic stability across North America. And that brings us to the broader conclusion behind all of these developments. Final take: a new era for North American energy cooperation. Looking at developments through June 2026, the evidence points less toward an immediate supply crisis and more toward the growing importance of strategic partnerships and infrastructure resilience. The United States continues to be a major energy producer with substantial resources, while Canada remains its leading foreign crude supplier and is simultaneously expanding opportunities in global markets. For the automotive industry, these shifts matter because fuel costs, refining capacity, transportation logistics, and international trade all influence vehicle manufacturing and ownership expenses. The road ahead will likely be shaped by investments in pipelines, export facilities, trade negotiations, and supply chain stability rather than by any single headline. Now, we'd love to hear from you. Do you think Canada's growing export flexibility will significantly change North America's energy balance in the years ahead? Should the United States prioritize rebuilding larger emergency oil reserves or focus more on increasing domestic production and refining capacity? How do you think trade policies and energy markets will affect future vehicle prices and ownership costs? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to subscribe to Highway Herald and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest vehicle updates, industry analysis, and upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's more exciting and informative content waiting for you.